Much. Being very close to 10:30, we'll open the meeting, and we're going to all stand and for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks for coming, everybody. We'll open the meeting, and I just want to make a quick comment. Just remember our service men and women are out there every day. Sometimes we seem to forget because we're isolated, but they're out there defending the country at this point in time, so just keep them in our prayers. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is to consider the approval of the minutes of June 26, 2014.
I have reviewed the minutes and moved that we approve them as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Next item is consider register of claims totaling $3,186,313.96.
Move approval of the claims in that amount.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Any discussion? Okay, we all know what they're for. Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Under old business, we have no old business listed. Under new business, we have resolution 2014-10, and this is a resolution, and this is related to a lease purchase. And Debbie Irving,
yes.
Introduce yourself, please.
Yes, Deborah Irvin, Muncie Sanitary District Financial Manager. I would ask that you approve resolution 2014-10. This is a resolution for a lease purchase agreement 001-0606138-303. This is again the lease of our new fleet of natural gas trucks. We have two trucks that have came in under this lease, and they are an Autocar Labrie and a Freightliner Peterson. The two vehicles are a total of $513,129, and the resolution also gives our administrator, Nikki Grigsby, authorization to execute the related documents. So I would ask if this resolution would be approved, please.
Just for the record, these purchases of these trucks have been approved at previous meetings, but because of the delivery, we didn't take all 8 trucks, is it? New trucks?
11.
11 new trucks, all at one time. The leases on these start as we receive each truck. So like if 2 trucks come in, a couple of meetings ago we approved that lease. A couple of meetings before that we approved a lease. So this is all a part of one purchase to have these trucks all converted to natural gas, which will say, as we would, there's been a lot of press about that, so we have saved an enormous amount of money, and of course it's obviously very good for the environment. So this is just part of an ongoing, just for those who are here today that haven't been aware of this before. This is, and we were able to do this, as it was explained, that we were able to get this lease and pay it out of the savings. Basically, it's a little bit, I don't want to make the statement that's not quite clear, but basically no additional taxes, no additional revenues. We're able to get these trucks over what we had already had into our budget. So basically, this is what this is about. So with that said, do I have a motion?
I have a question, if I may.
Yes.
When was this lease drawn up, do you know?
This was drawn up by the leasing company. It's the same lease that we've had on the other.
When?
This is our third lease.
This is the same lease that was approved by this board, and we approved it in order to do this staggered. So we approved that same lease with a different truck number at least 3 months ago.
Do you have a copy of is the resolution attached?
Yeah, I think so.
No.
Yeah.
Is it that?
2014-10. It's after the minutes.
Can I have a moment to read this?
This is the same lease you read before, Mike. It's just a different truck.
That's why I need to know when was this other lease, or when were these other trucks with this resolution or this lease done before? Just I need to, for my notes.
Now, roughly,
One was done in May, and the first lease, I believe, Mike, was in April. I can't give you specific dates, but just months.
do you have any other questions, Mr. Quirk?
I got to read this, just make sure it's.
Let's move on to the next one. We'll just go on to the next one. Mr. Quirk reviews that. So let's go on to the bid for the authorization of the 2014 bond.
Yes, we received our bond proceeds, and I'm asking the board to approve for me to open a bank account. I took bids out with 5 local banks, and Mutual Federal came in as the winner of the bids at 0.30.
Well, we're going to get rich on this percentage.
Yes, we are.
And again, as the contractor completes work on this big storm sewer project, we'll pay him out, so we'll have less to invest. So this will go from 13 million down to 0, you know, within probably the next 18 months. So it's.
Well, thank you for not just letting that money sit in the account, not getting money. I think that was a good move on your part, and I'm sorry we couldn't get a little bit more money for it, but that's the way it is. And you did get 5 quotes on this?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
There was a day when you could get investment earnings but exceeded the rate of the bond, the interest rate of the bond, but it's completely the other way now.
Yes, now it's hard to get the banks to take the money, so.
Yeah.
Is there any questions on that? Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Go ahead, Joe.
Joe made a motion to approve the 2014 bond investment.
I'll second
with the
that.
lowest. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just let me know, Mike, when you're ready. We're going to the next one, and we'll come back to it. Okay, Dave? The next order of agenda here is to consider Order 3 for the levee tree removal projects. And this would be Rick Conrad from our head of our Bureau of Water Quality.
Rick Conrad, Director of the Sanitary District's Bureau of Water Quality. The following is a change order for additional soil seeding and straw and matting for the extra trees that were removed as part of change order number 1. These were trees that were determined to be on the line of whether or not they needed to be required per Army Corps' requirements. So this is to prevent erosion and to replace that soil. And again, this is the replacement of the soil is all following Army Corps requirements, and the total is $2,454.46.
I think you explained it very well. The sanitary district does not want to take trees down.
We do not.
Okay, all right, but we're required to do this to get the levee certified, and there's some changes that have taken place on that. Some trees going back in, some we've been able to save.
We fight every single tree we can.
Thank you.
Fight to keep.
Yes.
Is there any questions on that? Any questions?
No.
Can I have a motion
very similar
for
to the previous meeting? We had to do one of these.
change order 3 for the levee removal project?
I will move approval of the change order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next item of the agenda is the EDF, Energy Savings Natural Gas Supply Contract documents. And what we're going to do today is we're going to present this contract. We're going to accept the contract based on approval by an attorney. So basically, we have Barbara Hanley here today that's going to explain a little bit of how this works, because it's an educational process to us of how the gas actually gets from Texas or wherever it's going to be into our pipeline for our trucks. So could you just step up and give us just a brief scenario of how it actually operates, where it starts, and how it gets to us?
Sure. I'm Barbara Paysu-Tanley from EDF Energy Services, where I'm an account manager. We are an Indiana company. EDF Energy Services is headquartered in Maryville, Indiana, and I work out of my office in Carmel, Indiana. We provide natural gas sales and service to commercial and industrial customers, as well as state government and municipal operations. And what this is we're offering to the Muncie Sanitary District the opportunity to purchase natural gas supply based on market pricing, whereby this is a risk management tool to purchase natural gas supply, the molecules of gas itself, for some future period of time to protect your budget and to give you a known cost for your fueling operations for your new CNG station, for both your own use as well as for the extra external customers that will be coming through refueling at your station. The way this works is basically that the natural gas supply, we look at each month what your forecasted usage is for a period of time, and we provide pricing for both the delivery to what we call the city gate, which is that veteran's receipt point, not just for the Muncie Sanitary District, but for all other commercial, industrial, and residential customers here in the Muncie area, and whereby we deliver to the city gate, and then in turn, Vectren takes that gas and puts it into their distribution system for delivery to your meter set. This is done by, commercial, industrial, and, government agencies, educational facilities, across Indiana, as well as the Midwest and beyond.
So this would be standard procedure for this type of operation?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I know we've spoken to Indianapolis and how they operate theirs, and it's very, very similar to this. So
very similar.
It really, there's a great fluctuation in gas prices, and for us to figure a budget, we can actually reach out up to 2 years, basically.
2 years of flow.
2 years of flow, and lock in a price. So if the gas prices go skyrocketing, which they did last December,
right,
last fall, I should say, then we wouldn't be caught up in that. So this way we would be setting a set price, okay, and be able to buy that. And I think the contract we're talking about is for 1 year rather than 2 years. I think at this point in time, is that correct?
I think it's 2.
Is it 2 years?
And we
okay.
do have approval for 2 years of
okay,
flow
which shows we have good credit, so that's a good thing.
Absolutely. And 2 years is a good time frame because this is a dynamic market. It changes all of the time. 2 years is a great window.
Yes.
And then, as we move into the 2-year period, and depending on what we see market conditions-wise, as well as, your operations, then we can look for approval to go out beyond that.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Again, what we're going to do is we're going to approve this contract based on the approval or the review of an attorney, okay? So.
We had an interesting discussion with Barbara and some people that know the natural gas market recently, and this is a good time right now to get into the market. So that's one of the reasons we're moving ahead on that.
That's good. And we'll have to review it. It's prudent to do it. And otherwise, what we're doing, we buy it at open rate, and we're subject to that fluctuations. I'd like to just give a plug to the sanitary district that they've always been on the cutting edge for trying to save money in economics, and also the environment. Going back, I'm thinking about when we were first in Indiana to put these one-arm trucks in the toter system, which saved the district over $1.5 million a year. Our employments out there went almost in half. So think about it. We had 12 trucks out, 3 men per truck. That's 36 employees. Now we have 1 man per truck, so we're down to 10 or 12. So and also we start the blue bag system, which is now rated in the top 10. And it's higher than that. It's better than that in the state. As far as the total trash collections, our percentage is somewhere in the top, I believe, 5 in the state. Again, that was done at no cost to the taxpayers. An individual company built the MRF recycling program, and we're paying the same amount of money for recycling and trash as we just paid for trash before. So, I'm really, personally, I know this board is proud to go ahead and get this conversion to natural gas trucks. And I think you're going to see governments across the state following this example very quickly, because we've opened this up to the county, the school districts for their buses, individuals. We have individuals out there, and we now have a major trucking company who has signed a contract to use our gas out there, which helps pay that bond payment down. So the bond payment was based on our numbers of our own usage of our vehicles, and the extra would be so-called the icing on the cake to get that bond payment paid quicker. So Again, I'm just taking the opportunity to just bring you up to what this district has really done in the past and how it could continue to try to save money.
Okay, I was involved, unless, Joe, you have any questions, I've been involved in this pretty detailed way, and I would move approval of the proposed agreement with EDF, subject to legal review.
I just have a quick question. Where is the dispute resolution clause in this?
It has been placed in the special provisions, and it is the state of Indiana, city of Indianapolis. And it'll be in the special provisions section.
Right, 'cause I see we waive our right to jury trial.
Pardon me?
We waive our right to ask for a jury trial if there's a dispute.
That I can't say for sure. I know that Nikki came back and wanted the venue changed to Indiana as well as Indianapolis, and we did make that change.
That's section 15.13.
Again, we'll have a legal review.
Yeah, excuse me, Mike.
There's still a
yeah,
process to go
Yeah,
through.
we're in here for a motion, and go
I
ahead.
just didn't know if there's another
No,
attachment that I'm not seeing, because it says that there's another section, and it's,
there'll be two different agreements.
There is a general conditions section.
Yeah. But yeah, we definitely want to review it. The reason we didn't get this pre-review, just so anybody knows, is that we're trying to put this on the fast track, come through the board, so everybody, the public and the board's aware of what we're doing. And we understand that the attorney has to review it, and we are already passing this subject on review, unless you've already reviewed it. Mike, do you have any other questions?
no, I don't know. I have to look at it.
Okay, that's good. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass this based on a review of an attorney. So back to,
That's
do
my
we have,
motion.
do we have a
Subject to
motion?
legal review.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for coming up today. We really appreciate it, and all your help taking us through this process and being patient with us as we learned. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, we're back to the lease on the truck at this point in time. Mike, have you had an opportunity to review that?
Yeah, I mean, I assume that it's just the same as the other ones.
It is exactly the same.
Okay. I mean, assuming that's the same, then that's fine.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure it was, I don't have the other one to compare it to, so.
Well, okay, this makes a motion that basically that we'll approve this lease based on it being the same basic premises of the leases we've been doing all along, with just different truck numbers and different amounts approved. So that would be the motion. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, now let's get to the fun part, okay? We're going to go ahead and have open the meeting for public comments at this point in time. And what I appreciate you doing is, if you'd like to speak to the board, please come up to the microphone, give us your name and your address, and state your questions, okay?
My name's Eldon Buck, 423 North Cherrywood Lane.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
a local landlord,
Yes, sir.
and I think several of us here are concerned with this. Most of our leases include tenants pay all utilities, which they have in the past for the last 25, 30 years. This is very short notice. Our leases run year to year, and number one, by what authority do you have to put the bills on the landlords that are not the end user?
I can answer that question. Can I see what you have there? I don't know what you have.
Oh, excuse me.
Do you have Section 8 housing, or is it normal housing?
Normal housing.
The reason why that we have the legal authority to do this is because while you guys may have a lease with your tenants, we are not a party to that lease.
That's true.
We cannot enforce that lease. We cannot sue on that lease. We cannot.
You do put
Let me
properties.
let me finish, please. We have no ability to enforce that contract between you and your tenants.
So after 50 years.
Hang on a second.
Excuse me, if you
Hang
want.
on a second.
Pardon me, sir.
Hang on a
I mean,
second.
you can say anything you want to say, really, but just come forward. That's okay. Just come forward, and in fact, if you want to come up now and stand up there, okay?
This is the first I've seen this, but what the idea is that I have rental properties as well. What I do is I include in the rent the bills that can be liened. I agree with you that liens, we need to go back to filing liens. And that's what I guess we have attempted to do. But the fact of the matter is that we cannot, and I agree with you, the person that live there are the ones consuming the water and consuming that. But we do not have a contract. We cannot be a party to a contract between you and your landlord and to your tenant.
That's another question.
And I agree with you. We have got it away from suing people in small claims court. We've been trying to fix that. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. We're trying to fix that. We've been trying to fix that for a year and a half. But the lien is obviously the better way to go, because it gets your attention, and then you can ask your tenants for the money. However, at this time, we cannot, like I said, you guys are ultimately responsible for that, and we cannot do anything about it concerning those leases. We can't do that. Now, I don't.
The lease isn't the question.
Go ahead, then. What is your question?
Okay.
Come back, and again, this is being recorded, so, Joe,
The lease isn't the question.
thank you.
Speak in the mic.
The question is, we're not the end user. Our tenants are the end user. The water bill's in their name, as it's been in the past. If the sewage bill don't get paid, we as landlords get notified, and we make sure it gets paid. So this is, to me, it's a bunch of crap, pardon my expression.
I don't have anything to do with that. I don't know what basis they sent that out on. But like I said before, as on a legal standpoint, our remedies are a few. One is to sue.
Just a minute, Matt, let me talk.
Hang on a second, would you please?
Yes.
Is that we can sue in small claims court, which we've tried to get away from doing, or file a lien, and that's what we're trying to do. And now I don't know what parameters they sent those out to. I don't know who they sent those out to. I can just tell you what we can do legally. And I understand that for years now, for years before it was done a certain way, and then it was under a previous administration it was changed to something else. All I can say is what I've tried to do the last 18 months and the progress we tried to make. And I don't know what's going to go on in the future. I don't know what their attitudes are going to be, but all I can tell you is what we can do legally and what we can't do legally. And we cannot, obviously, if we file a lien that takes your tenants out, we don't have any way to sue them.
That's true.
And that's happened in the past. I believe it's done incorrectly, but it's done in the past, and we're trying to remedy that. And I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No,
I don't know your specific situation, but that's all I'm telling you is that's what we can do legally. Now, I don't know anything about that flyer. I don't know anything about that mailer.
Just a second.
Well,
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah, that's good, Mike, you answered legal. Let me answer the flyer. Two things. One, obviously, we would have, I believe what Mike said is, if we have the legal right to put it on the house lien, then we would have the legal right to send it to the homeowner. I'm assuming that's that question. The timing, I agree. In fact, I have 3 rental properties, and my wife was on me about the lack of timing that we get notice. So I've been catching this at home a little bit also. So I don't totally disagree that we probably should have given more notice. I think that the reasoning that finally came down, or the argument that finally came down, is because you'll be signing new leases, especially in the Ball State area, and that this would be a good time to be notified. I don't know that to be a fact. I'm just saying that's the argument that won out, okay? And I'm not saying you're right or wrong, okay? I'm just saying that, in my own personal opinion, I think that if we had given a little bit more time, it would have been a better situation. But that's my own opinion.
I've got leases signed through August of 15, and the tenants are to pay their utilities. Here we've got less than 30-day notice. I don't agree with it at all. If I'd have known, if this took effect August 15, I could include the sewage in my rents.
Right, exactly.
But I don't know it now. Now it's putting double work on me. If I get the bill, I have to go to the tenant, collect it, instead of them, and I've been in this 25 years. plus.
And you've been a very good landlord. I mean, you've been very cooperative with the district on
And
different
whenever we
matters.
get
as
a
talked.
past due bill, they notify me and I make sure it gets paid. But this is my big complaint. It's just, to me, it's absurd.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you for the way you've handled yourself and presented it. Yes, sir.
Matt Weaver. I have a problem with it because I think you guys have overstepped your bounds. Like I said, you've done this for 50 years or whatever, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, we get a notice. Number one, I'd like to know whose idea this was.
Well, you know, these different ideas come up at different times. I mean, we have made a dramatic amount of changes in as we say, we felt that the taking people to small claims court or to the court system was costing people more money, so we abolished that and we tried to.
I understand that.
What's prompted all this is that we have about $1 million in old debt.
Right.
I mean, so that you ask, well, how do we start processes of how we look at things?
Mm-hmm.
And we decided to go into a monthly billing because before it was quarterly, nobody would get a bill for 3 months, and then there'd be another 3 months. So before we tried to take any action, it was like 7 months down the road, which just didn't make a lot of sense.
Okay.
So we changed it. I can't sit here and tell you truthfully exactly whose idea this was.
Okay.
And I mean that sincerely. I can't tell you whose idea it was.
Somebody thought it was a good idea, and everybody said okay, and here we
Well,
go.
there was a lot of debate on it, and
I mean, if you're $1 million in a hole, I understand that.
yeah, and that's so.
And I don't want to be $1 million in a hole.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah,
Because I have about 40 rental properties, and I've been here 12, 15 years, and when we get a notice from you guys, we kick nudge the tenant,
right.
and they pay it.
Yeah,
And if they don't, then we do.
yeah.
It's worked pretty good.
I think the biggest argument that I'm hearing, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, is the timing.
No, the timing doesn't cause me a problem.
Okay.
I would never put it in my lease.
Okay.
I would never pay it because it's not a fixed expense, is it? Has it become a fixed expense?
No, it isn't.
No, it's not a fixed
It is not.
expense.
You only be able to use the average.
I wouldn't put it in my lease.
Yeah.
So I'll have to take it to them and then follow up. And then if I get a notice from you, I'll nudge them again. So nothing changed except it takes more of my time, and I'm going to have to be here every month.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that's right. And or I'm going to have to hire somebody, you know, and I don't want to do that because it costs me money. So I would like, I mean, you guys run a good ship for the most part. I've been very pleased with what your department does.
Thank you.
I've been to several meetings before we had issues, and I found you guys to be you just run an efficient ship. If we could get the rest of the city to do that, I think we'd be better off.
Well, but no, I appreciate you saying what you're saying,
But
and again,
I also want you to look at Detroit City. You happen to know the sanitation department has asked the United Nations to pay their blooming water bills.
yeah, I saw that.
And you know why that is? It happens because they have unions up there that have destroyed the city. We have unions in this city that are destroying work, destroying jobs.
And with all due respect, just stay on track.
I understand. I just had to
Stay
throw
on
that
track,
in there,
okay?
Mr. Evans.
Well, just stay on track.
I don't know
so
why
we
he's
can-
even on this board,
Well,
but I do know.
this,
I do know.
I do know.
we've done a good job.
I know.
We really have. Up till now, we really have had a civil, and we're listening. Okay.
I know, but I'd just like to get this changed, Mr. Smith.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
the board's here. It's going to be in a minute, and I can guarantee you we'll have some conversations.
We don't need to go down the road of Detroit.
No.
I mean, we really don't. We're a smaller city. You got good people here trying to make a living. I'm trying to make a living. And we don't need to put more burden on the businessman so it puts roadblocks on him and he don't want to do business here. I mean, we got enough of that already. We really do. And every time we turn around, we got some other regulation. I used to pay $35 for a building permit. Now I pay $150. I used to be able to put a water heater in. Now I got to pay $50 to put a water heater in. Just on and on. I know you guys need money and revenue. I understand that. But the way to get it is to create an environment where people want to be and where people want to work, not to shun them out. And I just want to pass that on to you. I know you know that because you're a smart man. And
well, we appreciate your comments, and thank
but I
you.
really would like something done about this.
I can't guarantee that, but we can certainly, we're listening, we'll see what we can do. We'll talk about it. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee it.
I understand.
But
I appreciate you listening to
we'll
me. And if you can do something about it, I mean, it just makes sense. We were doing okay. This is not going to stop your $1 million deficit. This is not going to stop you from having to go to small claims court. It's not going to stop it because I'll eventually pay it as a landlord, no doubt about it. But you'll still have to sue the people that use the water. And I believe if we look deep enough, Mr. Attorney, that we'll find out the end user has the ultimate responsibility for that. But I appreciate you listening to me.
Thanks for coming up with your comments. We appreciate that.
I would like to say something real quick. First off, I take exception to the comment made by Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans is on this board because he's extremely qualified.
We're past that. We brought that back, and
Bill, I would like
and really nobody's questioning. In other words, it's
he's a
everybody's.
We're just man, and he does his job, and he's extremely qualified. Now, the other thing is, I would like to say,
I'd like you to substantiate that some way.
Okay, but the other thing is that legally, the problem is that what we have run into, and I'm not saying this is your situation with your tenants, is that.
Excuse me, Mr. Cork. Mr. Cork. Okay, we're going to stay on the agenda here. You made your comments. He's made his comments. We're going to stay on track here. Okay.
So we're going to explain to him a Ball State situation with tenants.
Well, I understand, and but thank you. But this is stay on track with what with the subject here, and again, we're all acting polite and civil, and we appreciate that. So let's stay right on track here, sir.
Name's Bob Morgan, and I'm a retired pipe fitter from a union. And first thing you learn there, you guys said you had a learning process on this gas and stuff.
Yes, sir.
The first thing you learn there is water won't run uphill. Payday's on Friday, and everybody knows what the boss is. So this thing here with the savings on the natural gas, I thought that was a good thing.
Okay.
The trash pickup, that's innovative. But this is kind of weird. I don't understand. Isn't this the only county in Indiana that has you responsible for this waste?
When you say
the waste, the sewage.
The sewage?
Yeah. It's the only county that has this on their agenda that the landlords have to be responsible for that.
I see what you're saying. You know
and
what?
If that's the case, maybe we need some more learning, and maybe we should ask some of these other counties how they collect, how they keep ahead of the thing. And the Ball State, I know they run out on you all the time, but there's a lot of ways to keep them from running out. Once you get a judgment on a student, you got him. And it shouldn't cost that much if you get used to doing it. That's just, I don't understand it. I don't understand why you're trying to keep these people, I agree with everything they said, down. You know, well, small business, I'm not even a business, but it's just kind of irritating to me.
I can't answer your question about are we the only one in this state to do it. I don't know, but your comments are appropriate, and
I don't see why you could sue a homeowner because somebody has used this, and it's just like Ball State. They talk about they give it to one kid and 20 come in there, and the last day or the last month they all come in, do their wash, and you're responsible for it. I don't understand it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mike. It's nice to finally see you in person.
Yeah.
My name's Kate Benson. Brent's my husband.
Oh yeah.
So, and Mike and Joe and Will. I actually don't reside here in Muncie, but I am a property owner and have been for the last 9 years. I live in Indianapolis, and I think just to back up, where the gap came in specifically with this utility is the billing quarterly. So in January, when you guys changed that to monthly, I don't know if anyone's looked back now to see if bills are getting paid on time, but I am not aware of the water company or American Electric running into these same problems. And I have been on the phone with the Muncie Sanitary District, like at the end of a lease. Last year I specifically had a property where they didn't pay the bill, but it defaults into our name. So then it becomes our responsibility to get it paid, and then we charge back the tenant. So I guess my question is that I feel like I don't know if I speak for all of them, but I really see that we're following the rules. I mean, we have it set up so that it defaults into our name, so we pay the bill. So I think that to be more proactive to fix the problem, we need to look at this $1 million that's sitting out there that hasn't been paid and follow up with those property owners and see if they are set up that the bills default back into their name, because chances are, if they're not, then that's why we're getting stuck with this $1 million, because those property owners don't have that set up that way. So I just think that versus making this big of a move, why can't we take a step back and look at how this monthly billing has changed things over the last 8 months? And it possibly could be correcting the problem, because the bills...
It definitely has a positive effect. It definitely has had a positive effect.
And I think that's where the surprises have come in the past, because, monthly bills come in and then that one's forgotten because it's quarterly. So, and my other question is too, and maybe I apologize if I didn't know this coming prior, but this is connected to the water bill. Am I right?
That's correct.
So then what happens to the water bill? Will that continue to be, because to my understanding, when we call and get these set up, they won't take 2 different addresses, that the water bill and the sewage bill have to coincide and be harmonious.
That's
so is this now saying that we're going to be responsible for water as well?
No. No, the answer is no. It's 2 separate bills. The only thing, we have a contract with the water company, and our rates are based on, the amount of quantity that you use of water, and this has been established, I don't know how many years ago. So if somebody uses a lot of water, it goes into the sewer system, we have to treat it. So it's your consumption of water that are going into the line multiplied by our rate, and that's what your water bill would be derived of. But this has nothing to do with your water company and your bill.
And I think the other thing is too, is that I don't feel like we exhausted all options before we got to this option, because I know that the other utility companies take deposits. So like if a student calls and they don't have a credit history, then they require a $70 or an $80 deposit for the for whatever utility that is to be turned on. If the tenant pays the bill on time throughout the year, then they get that deposit back at the end of the year. So there is bonuses on both sides to get the behavior that you're wanting to drive. You could get it by getting this deposit so that you're protected at the end, and then they get back whatever, if they try to skip out or whatever, and then you're not even in the judgment or legal piece. And then just to speak on the judgment and the legal piece, we really are proactive in running our business as a business now. We're here all the time. So I can actively stand here and say to you that unfortunately we've had to walk down the line of having our first lawsuit after 9 years of being in business. Believe me, parents are all over it, because the last thing they want us to do is put their son or daughter in collections or put a judgment against their brand new graduated daughter. I'm a parent now too. I know I don't want my son graduating with some kind of hiccup on their credit when they go to get a house. So, but I think, I just want to say that because I think that you will get a response if you have to go after these with a legal pursuit. I think people will stand up and pay them. Normally if they get a threat of collections from us, they pay the bill. So I just think that I just don't know that I see, with all the information that I have been given, that we have actively exhausted all the avenues that we could possibly take before stepping into just us taking ownership. And then, I'm not here to give you a song and dance and whine about doing what I do.
I think you've been very clear and precise.
I apologize for being in this attire today too, because we are right in the middle of turnover. But I just think that we do take on a lot, and this is one thing that if we could try to possibly avoid and do something else, we're actively asking you to just maybe listen and maybe entertain some of these ideas, suggestions, so that it could maybe result in a different action.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Any
name is Ron Sparling, and we have some rental properties that we've had really very few problems with the sanitary district on. We have a few tenants who have gotten late in time, but we've taken care of it. I guess the thing that I would emphasize here, if the system ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think the system has worked reasonably well in the past. I was not aware that you had pursued the options of small claims courts.
I have not.
Directly. Well, I wasn't aware that you had that option. At any rate, following on what was just said there are, I think, maybe other options that might have been considered that we're not aware of. I've lived in other places, and the sanitary facilities, the services, and the water bills have normally been municipally owned and provided, so that you had a power situation here. That if you didn't pay the sewer bill, you could shut the water off.
We've actually instituted that with probably, and don't hold me to numbers, 90% of the people that have received their water shut off have paid their bills or made an arrangement, okay, to pay their bill. So it's a very high percentage.
Well, I did not know that you had the
we
arrangement with the water
that,
company.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's
we just
good.
started that recently.
I've learned more today than I expected to learn. I found out some things, but
and in fact, landlords in some cases have thanked us for that, because they said, they're not paying their bills, they're not paying me. Will you turn the water off? And so we've actually had some feedback from landlords that actually appreciated that we could do that.
So that is a remedy.
But we never turned it off without notifying the property owner.
I understand, but
Okay,
that is a
would never
remedy that
happen.
we, as landlords, do have that I wasn't aware of.
Well, if they're behind on their sewer bill and they're probably behind on their rent and everything else, then we can do that.
That's good to know.
So again, some things we can work together on, and it works out well, and it is the ultimate threat, and it's something you don't want to pull that trigger on lightly, and so we've been very, 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 very careful, and what we've asked for is basically anybody who's behind in their sewer bill, to sign an agreement, okay, that they'll pay that bill over 2 years. So if they owe $500, we give them up to 2 years to pay that bill. It's keeping their current bill paid. So we understand that there are, there's some people that through no fault of their own do fall behind on bills, okay? And all we're asking is the police just come in and make that arrangements, and that we have in effect that you can catch up on that bill, you can pay us what you can afford to pay us over that period of time. And it's been very successful. We've got a lot of that in. We're still down to a certain amount of people that just...
As you always will.
Yeah, as we always will.
Nothing will be perfect. Well, thank you. Well, I've learned a great deal today, and I support the comments that Eldon particularly has made.
And for the record, my office has not filed one small claims case against any delinquency, not one.
But the option is there. But even though you haven't used it, I wasn't aware of that.
We have not filed any, nor do we have. I have plans to file any small claims cases. I have not.
Okay.
The answer is the option's there, but no, we're not going to.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate your hearing.
Certainly. Thank you again. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Gilpin.
Yes, dear.
I own G&G Realty. I got this from a family member. I live in Yorktown, so I didn't get it. But I'm a property manager. I have 36 properties here in Muncie. And I called them. All but 2 of my owners live out of state, so I made a couple phone calls to see if they received these, and they did not. So I'm not real sure how you're sending them out.
Obviously, all our records that we have for the property owners, we've sent them to everybody. But if you could, before you leave, if you could give Megan your. My note here is that.
And I signed the list back there with G&G Realty and my address.
Okay, then we will make sure you give correspondence. But I think that something that may have fell through the slot, and I'm not going to say it did, but we may not have sent property management companies a copy of this.
Okay.
And so my note here would be to make sure they do get a copy of that.
Yeah. And I have a problem with the leases also, like Eldon said. I mean, my lease states that if there is a utility that is paid for by the owner, which would go through me, it would be put in the lease, and there isn't any at all. I would have to go back and change everything. And the majority of my properties are either multi-bedroom, so it's going to be a larger family. And I thought that the sewage bill was done by how much water is used. I don't know how I would estimate to put it into the rent so that I'm not going out to 36 properties every month and collecting a sewage bill, how I would know how much to add to the rent so that it could be done monthly by the tenant. In the last 5 years, and I did go back and check, I've had 3 homeowners contact me that they received a little red notice.
Yes.
And I can go on your website
Yes.
and tell whether it's been paid or not.
Yes.
If it has not, and only one time it had not,
Yes.
and I paid for it immediately.
Wow.
And I think that that system is working. And you just said that 90% of the people that thought they were going to get their water turned off, because wasn't it last year or a year before last, this was going to be an option, that if the tenant didn't pay the sewage bill, that you would turn the water off?
That started sometime mid last year, maybe. We actually
so if
passed
90%
that.
of the people that owed the sewage bills, it worked, they paid the sewage bill, why aren't we just leaving it
We're
like
just
that?
down to that 10%, which is a large number. But what you're saying is we went to a monthly billing, it's helped. We turned off the water, it's helped. Okay, we've turned over to various collection agencies to try to make calls, and we've done that. And this is one component of that, and I'm just being very frank with you. It's one of the components, and we just need to.
Well, I'm
take
also
your comments and listen
confused
to
about
you.
something, and I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm president of the Rental Property Association.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't do anything as president without getting the board members to approve everything that I would like to do.
Right.
Doesn't always happen. But Mr. Quirk said he had never seen it, and you said you didn't know how it actually got sent out.
Let me correct. Mr. Cork did not see it, but let me correct one
Okay.
thing. I saw this. I know who it went to. In other words, anybody who's on our records, and it's an extensive record of
Okay.
who actually owns the property, and we get that information from the water company when a new account comes in. So what we did is obviously everything that's in our data bank, we've sent that to. So
Okay, but
did
you say you had never seen it?
Mr. Cork has not seen that particular deal. He knew that this was happening. He was at the board when we decided to do the action. He just hadn't seen the final piece of this here. Okay.
And so
And
was
Mr.
this one of
Cork,
the things that
Mr.
you're
Cork
doing
went and
on
got
the
married
fast
and was
track?
gone for 2 weeks to some sunny island somewhere. So
Okay.
he didn't see it for that reason, I assume. But again, there some property owners out there that we're not aware of. Probably, but I think that there's a very small amount. But one of the biggest things we did not do is send it to property manager company. And I made a note for us in the future to any change that we make that you all should be aware of that. There's no doubt about it, because you're the guys that are on the front line.
Yeah, and there's a lot of us out here.
I understand that.
Because your census showed that 48% of the housing in Delaware County are rentals.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of property managers out there.
Absolutely.
And I know, I've been a real estate broker for 20 years also, that if I saw a sign in a yard and I wanted to see if it was the owner that had it for sale, I can go to the property cards, and it tells you right up there where the owner of the property lives. So I know if it's a tenant or if it's an owner that lives there. That's why I was wondering where you got your information.
We do. I'm sure we do that also. I'm not, with the exact details of what they do. I don't want to tell you something that's not right, but they're pretty efficient in that sewer utility office.
Okay.
So, and I apologize that we did not think to send it to you. Okay.
Well,
and,
if you want my vote,
and
I'm
you're,
voting no. I think you're causing a lot of headaches. I mean, we're going to raise rent. I'm going to raise my commission. I'm not going to work any harder for the little amount that I make now to go around to all my properties to make sure that the sewage bills are paid. I'd much rather have my owner contact me that they got a card. Sewage bill has not been paid. I can go immediately on your website and see if it's been paid. And like I say, the majority of the time it has been. There might be a late fee on there because they paid it a day or two after it was due. Maybe they were on vacation too and they forgot about it.
It's like you said, when you get that red card, you're gonna have your water turned off. It seems to be a real alarm to let people know. And again, I was glad to hear that the property owner also got a copy of that, because we're trying to let them know at the same time as the resident. So I'm glad to hear that part of it.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Can I ask you a question? Can I either get a copy of that, what you have that notice, or have that notice? Do you have an extra one?
It's sent to my niece. She lives in Holtman Village.
Do you want me to get a copy of this, or can I have this one? All right, thank you.
We have a lot of them in the sewer utility office, if you'd like to have another one for your record. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi there. My name is Sue Terry. We're at 3804 West Allen Court in Muncie. My husband and I invest in properties throughout Indiana through the tax sale process.
Okay.
In Delaware County, I wanted to compliment you. When Mike Quirk and his team at SOS were doing collections, we had more success in being able to pay our bill timely because we knew the detail of the bills than prior to Mike. Prior to Mike, I had asked for detail on about 30 properties, waited over a year, and within the time that SOS took over, I had the totals within 2 weeks and was able to pay what we owed, and what wasn't owed by us because of the tax sale, being prior to the tax sale, was written off. They've done a wonderful job.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that, because of course they got their information from our department, so it's a compliment to both of them. So, I'm really, absolutely. So I'm happy to hear that. And again, there's no doubt that what they were doing was an extension of what we set up internally. We had the amnesty program. If anybody can think back, last March or April, we had people lined out the door into the parking lot because we publicized. The newspaper did a great job of it, of saying that we were given an amnesty program. If you come in, okay, we'll give you this 2-year payoff deal, and we'll drop some, whatever we can drop, any legal fees that have been involved up to that point.
Right.
We would drop the legal fees, and we would drop the, and Mr. Cork was part of that, dropping any legal fees that were on that at that point in time. So what we had set up at that point in time was an extension of what we were doing internally, right, because we couldn't afford to do that time-wise, because we were changing from software, which is the old DOS system. Anybody know about computer? This computer system is like ancient, that we were using over in the department, and we went to a monthly billing, which obviously was internally quite a bit of work. So we set up an operation, okay, to continue what efforts we had been doing successfully. And so I'm glad to hear that it all worked, that part of it.
From then, the collections went to Atlas. I know the people at Atlas, I think they can do a fine job, but if you're in a position now, because in speaking with Atlas this week, I understood that the collections from them, when we tried to pay something, was pulled back. If you're at a position, again, that you can decide which collection source to go to, I would just like to voice my approval of how SOF staff did.
Well, we appreciate it. And the results on both have been pretty good. Okay.
But what I appreciated in our specific situation is that Mike, being an attorney and understanding law, understood our specific situation and got to the problem more quickly. The second part of me wanting to speak today was, I, like others, we don't need to rehash it, was disappointed about the cards we received. But I have even more concerned regarding the people that we've sold many, many properties to on contract. I'm trusting them with our, say, $100,000 property or $50,000 property, yet not trusting them to pay their bill. And when I know that lien can be assessed anyway, then I go back to the folks that said that it really just, we need to come up with a process. If this is going to stay, if there's no going back, I understand that. But it would be nice to come up with a process. I'm
not going to buy that. I'm not going to tell you whether it can or can't. I mean, can we? And I'm not saying it can or can't, but can some adjustments be made? Maybe. Can we consider it? Maybe. Yes.
What I'd like to suggest then is if Mike were able to come up with some kind of document that if, as the owner of the property, we were able to present a contract, a signed recorded contract, then that the bill would go to that person. It's just absurd that you can sell a property on contract and then suddenly I become mother again and get their sewage bill.
Yes.
So that's just something that I would appreciate you considering. Again, it's been an enormous headache for us as well. So thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thank you again for the way you presented things. Yes, sir.
One last comment, Eldon Buck again. I respectfully ask this board to reconsider this totally. Thank you.
We will absolutely reconsider it, and again, no guarantees, as you know, but we will certainly talk about it and look at it.
My name's John Osborne. My office is at 3412 North Walnut. I'm a realtor and a property owner. I got 3 or 4 quick things. On the sewage, I'm not the end user. And if you had 90% success shutting the water off, shut it off. And business, 90%, I think is pretty darn good.
It's a high percentage.
Then turn it over for collection. I'm not the end user. The notice, I got a notice last Saturday in the mail, and I got one Monday. One at my home and one at my office. Out of the blue, somebody dreams this thing up, and what really amazes me, the attorney, the board attorney here, didn't know anything about it. Who dreamt this thing up?
The answer, if I may, okay, sure. He is aware of everything that's on that piece of paper. He's been involved with that decisions.
The attorney has?
Yes, sir.
You're saying that?
Yes, sir.
And he did. He's never seen it?
No, what he said was he didn't see the actual printing of something. So, but as far as the details,
Mr. Quirk, was you did you know all about this?
No, I knew that.
You didn't know that.
I knew that this has been in discussion how we're going to do this because it's been such a mess over the last the 4 years prior to 2013. I have known that we've been talking about this to correct
generalities, just the
generalities. No, and what I said is and Bill's right. What I said is I've never seen this thing.
Okay.
But like I said,
that amazes me.
Well, I had a 2-week murder trial, and I got married, and I had a honeymoon. So I've been gone pretty much the whole month of May, and then 2 or 3 weeks in June. So sure. I have not seen this document, but we have had this ongoing discussions now for 18 months about how we're going to try to fix the situation, and we've been trying to fix the situation. So no, Bill's right. When I said that I have not seen this document, this flyer, that is true, but the contents of it we have discussed.
An easy way out for the board is jam to us landlords. I understand that. That's easy way out. I don't think it's right.
Did we clear that piece up? In other words, in fact, there was
a
statement.
I still think we're all busy. Congratulations on your marriage and your vacation. We try to take vacations and so on, so on, so on. So we're all busy. But I'm just amazed that he didn't have the final say-so for when I look at it.
The attorney never has a final say-so on a flyer that we would set up. But
looking at it to see if
I can just give
worded
advice,
properly and so
on. Well,
right?
we actually
okay.
That's okay.
Enough for that.
Right.
It just amazes me that we, the landlords, and it's the easy way out. Yeah, stick with the landlords. Now, my leases are all leased. I'm leased through August of 15. My leases, like a lot of the people here, not only Ball State leases, but normal family rental leases. You address the utilities, and it's up to the tenant to pay them. I say shut them off. INA or AEP, everybody else, you don't pay, they're going to shut you off. They're not going to come out and try to hunt up us landlords because it's the easy way out. And one other question that's off this subject. We went to monthly billing. Great idea. Should have done that years ago. But now we send, and the tenants have to send it to Fort Wayne. What happened to sending it right here?
Well, we deal with, that's Star Bank. Their computer center, excuse me, sir, let me just finish. Merchants, if you were to go to Merchants, it would be out on 69. They moved their computer center from here. So if I was to send it to another bank and we want to do locally, okay, none of them have their computer center here in Muncie. So, you know, I had no choice. We had no choice. If we wanted to use somebody local, okay, but to send it somewhere else. So,
Okay.
there's
Well,
no, it's a good question because we have had it before, obviously.
To Delaware County, Muncie needs jobs,
obviously,
whatever. Now
obviously,
we're carting it to Fort Wayne.
we've totally
It's the mailing time. Here around Muncie, usually you can get it in the mail if you're lucky, and it might get there tomorrow or 2 days.
Totally
Now
agree.
you send it to Fort Wayne 2 or 3 days, and if you're close on time,
Yeah.
guess what? You get a pay a late fee.
Well,
the individual.
Again, I'll go on record that if that was the case, okay, if that gets there a day late, okay, we'll make an adjustment. If you contact us, we'll make an adjustment. We don't want to cause it. But I'm just telling you that we strongly feel about doing business in Delaware County, and so this is the only way we could actually keep it here with something local, okay? So.
Okay. Appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
My name's Ed Schaefer, and I have some property in the Ball State area too. This is just more of the same, other than the fact I'll try to keep it short. I don't understand how doing this with the card and the language of that is any different than what's happening now, because we get the notice that says we are going to have a lien, and we pay it immediately, as far as my wife and I. And I don't understand how this can make it any better for that, if the $1 million is the concern. Because if that $1 million is based on landlords that aren't paying you, I don't see how this is any more effective in reducing that deficit than what you have now. Especially with you've made several points, Mr. Smith, that you've tried things in the past few months that seem to be more effective. To me, this was just over the top in the burden that we're already bearing anyway. Excuse me, anyway, and taking care of the stuff. And before you answer anything, I'm glad we changed the system back, and the sanitation department is the most effective department in the city of Muncie.
Thank you, sir.
Anyway.
We certainly appreciate your comments.
But if we can go back and not do that, I think it was just as effective. I understand your $1 million part, but like I say, I think it's the people that are going to continue. They're going to duck you no matter what, because we've all, as business people,
and
dealt
again,
with professional people.
just to explain what if I could,
Yeah.
you're right in some of your points, okay? Before we do anything, we also notify the landlord that the bill's late, so you will get a copy of that, okay? Many respond, okay? Landlords, put pressure on, do whatever has to be done. The water turn off, also the landlords get a copy of that, and I'm telling you, or the property owner, okay? It really has a pretty good effect there. So I have to agree with you that what we've done is very effective.
So with all that effectiveness, why are we taking this extra step, which seems to me over the top, like I said, because we ultimately were responsible for the bill anyway, and every responsible landlord was going to go ahead and take care of that bill. So to take this extra step is the same problems and burdens that everybody else has pointed out. Like I said, it just seems to me like it's over the top and was unnecessary to do that. And undoing these things sometimes takes more of a process than getting them to the point that they're at right now. So if it's possible, I agree with Eldon and every other landlord that's spoken, I'd certainly like to see this undone so that we could continue the way we were. That's all I've got.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir.
Hi there. My name is Scott Stonebreaker. I own Stonebreaker RE Holdings, LLC, doing business as Muncie Properties. I spoke to you on the phone last fall, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I'm here about today.
Yes.
I have 39 properties. I have 128 families here in Muncie, Indiana. I've been a landlord and an owner of Muncie Properties. Muncie Properties LLC, the company that went bankrupt due to property taxes, etc. Out of that, you and I got to speak and come to an agreement last fall as to the old company, and part of that agreement was I was going to pay those bills and we were going to start with the new company, Stonebreaker RE Holdings, going forward.
Correct.
And you had your attorney who, when you take compliments for Mr. Quirk and SOS, it does not just reflect your department, because your department has been very unwilling to understand their own billing system. I understand you switched to a new computer system and they've had some glitches. But I've been trying to pay my sewer bill, and I was threatened on July 3rd that they were going to shut water off to these 128 families, when I've been coming and saying I am more than willing to pay an accurate bill.
May I ask you, will you, after the meeting, talk to me? Because I've talked to the girl that's in charge there as of yesterday. In fact, I asked her to give you a call. I said...
And I returned the call, and I didn't get to talk to Nikki. I spoke to her assistant or someone.
Dina, maybe, or... well, anyway,
right.
Yeah, because I actually, before we took any action at all, and I knew we had spoken before, I said, I want to make sure that he's aware of the notices and what's going on. And so I asked Dina, who is in charge of that department, to give you a call personally. But she did call you.
Okay, is it Dina that called me yesterday? Let me say that I had several communications with Dina up until January of this year.
Okay.
And I am in complete disagreement with Dina's billing system. Quite frankly, sir, I think she's disregarded your agreement with me from October till now. We'll talk about. I'm more than happy.
But let me agree with you on that portion of it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So I want to agree because in reviewing your billing, okay, from the time there was something on some of those bills that should have been written off,
Sure.
okay, before they sent you the bills, and I went back last week when this came to my and we're adjusting those.
I have a spreadsheet that I would love to sit down with your billing staff.
Absolutely.
And I've got it by month. She told me I couldn't figure out your consumption.
Absolutely.
I have 38 bills.
We'd be happy to do that.
Okay, my next point is, and I wrote a letter to the mayor, and I'd like to read. I think you understand that you're not in agreement. You're not fulfilling your end of our agreement, but it sounds like from what you just said to me that we are gonna.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. The next thing is, when you guys changed to your computer system, your girls over there are struggling.
They were.
There is huge billing errors in that. A lot of these people that say, hey, turn the water off, and go collect your money. You can turn the water off to Muncie Properties if you give me an accurate bill and I don't pay it.
Right.
But but I would be very hesitant as this board to shut the water off on anybody in Muncie, Indiana, based on what your
we are very, very hesitant, and right now I have taken the personal responsibility to review any bill that's turned off before, and I actually come in every week and just do that.
So it will be your sole.
It has been, but I can tell you this: that the water company, most of our problems in the last 2 or 3 months has been caused by the water company, and I'll tell them. Right now, their billing and their computer, they put new software in, and they have been sending us erroneous bills, and we're working diligently to get that straightened out. And I believe, like last week or so, they've straightened that out.
Okay.
So
because I can match the water bills to your sewage usage dates to what my bill should be. The next thing,
and that's fine. Yes, we'll straighten that out.
Dina told me that your rate was 4.99. Okay, and that was when you were doing your 3-month billing cycles. I could actually match that to the penny on all of my accounts.
Okay.
Since January, since you guys have switched to your monthly billing, have you changed your rate?
The answer is yes.
Okay, so the new rate is the 5.28 to figure to your new bills. And I've done that as well.
The answer is yes.
So I know exactly what I owe.
Yeah, I see that.
I'm going with this.
You knew better than I did. Go ahead.
Okay. So, sir, I will not take any more of your time if we are going to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, and if you'll take a few minutes to we can get a hold of you. I'll get a hold of you. All right.
You've got my cell
phone. We do. Okay. I'll get a hold of you. Yes, sir, Mr. Hyatt.
Good morning. Chris Hyatt.
Yes, sir.
Representing Key Enterprises, 1716 North Wheeling Avenue. Three things real quick, and I know you've been here a long public input period, but a couple months ago I served notice upon the board of my intent to file possibly a tort claim due to some property damage incurred.
Yes, sir.
And while I don't see Nikki Grisby.
No, she's out with a bad back today.
I'd like to share with the board that she took the bull by the horns and initiated some repairs to the property, inspected by me personally yesterday. Have a few questions with her that I'll take up, but other than that, repairs seem to be satisfactory.
Excellent.
So unless something arises in the next 30 days, you can consider that issue resolved. So that's the first thing I want to report.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde.
The other thing is I kind of personally consider it a little embarrassing that in the heart of the sanitary district with a sanitary sewer running on one side of the road, that properties on the other side of the road aren't serviced by that sewer system. So be the case over there in the near proximity of this most recent property damage there at 814 and 816 Centennial. Now 814 Centennial no longer physically exists there, so it's not an issue.
Okay.
But 816 Centennial is one of those properties that was never serviced bilateral properly to the Muncie Sanitary District sewer system. All the other properties running down Centennial on the north sides appear to be serviced, and of course the sewer line runs east-west, to the best of my knowledge, on the south side of Centennial there, and services the properties on the south side. So I would appreciate the engineering department, of which I've been trying to communicate with Mr. Anderson and some others, to no avail, to come out and at least have a conversation with me what we can do about that.
It'll be done.
And I appreciate that because I do have a active residence there that is properly performing, but I have some concerns as the dynamics and the topography continues to be a little changing around there with a lot of impervious runoff and what have you. Third thing, and not to be forgotten, and this transcends back to your previous board position, Mr. Smith, we have these properties on the north end of Albany Avenue in Granville-Knoll Edition, which technically I believe are just outside the north perimeter of Albany town limits.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they're also on the Albany town sewer system. And I am paying $11 per month stormwater fee to the town of Albany. So my question to you is why do I have to continue to pay a stormwater fee to the Delaware County if in fact the town of Albany is handling and billing me for the stormwater?
Okay.
I think this is, I'm caught in a gray zone.
Yeah, I see.
And, you know, the county sees that and picks it up on it because I'm outside the town limits.
Yeah.
However, this is an exception, much in the area of the sanitary district here in Muncie. I believe services areas are outside the incorporated areas of Muncie.
We absolutely do.
And so be the case with the town of Albany. So I'd appreciate some consideration there. And this has been a long thing that I've kind of, it's priorities for me, okay?
Yeah,
so
right,
that's
this
not the top of my list.
This is work back up.
Yeah. Well, I'm here. I got your ear.
Yeah,
so
right.
I just wanted to address the three things.
You shouldn't be paying two. It makes no sense for you to be paying two.
And, you know, we're talking nickel dime stuff here. I think, I don't know what the annual charge now is for stormwater for the county, but I'm paying substantially more to the town of Albany, and it's probably where I rightfully. I'd like to get rid of the town of Albany, but they're the ones that service it.
Can I take another plug for the sanitary district? You know, this board, and I know you're aware of it, we lowered the percentage by 25% last year of the stormwater rate.
Yep.
This board did. For that, give me the details on that, Mike. 25 for.
That's overall. That's an average between the different land uses.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, that's all I have. Thank you, John.
Thank you, and we'll follow up on those other two items. Yes, sir.
Hello, Bill. Board. John Hampton.
Your head didn't get too big here this morning, did it?
What's that?
Your head didn't get too big. People talking.
No.
Okay.
But
I want to make sure you could.
I need to do the formality though first. John Hampton, 2304
Yes,
North
sir.
Benton Road. No, my head didn't get too big,
Okay.
Bill. And I do want to thank Mrs. Terry for her kind words. I also want to thank the Terrys for the significant investment they've made in our community and all these other landlords. And I understand that. I have some documentation of what SOS did during the period of our contract that I'd like to give the board.
Good.
Their attorney.
Thank you.
And I got here a few minutes late, but if anyone would like to see the documentation I brought, there's a stack in the back that you can look at and take for your own information. I agree with a lot of what's been said today. This is a very efficient district, but it does break down a bit when it gets to billing, Bill. Part of that is what Mr. Stonebreaker addressed, because he's not the only one that we have failed to write off bankruptcies amounts on, and that needs to be addressed. Also, I don't know, besides the Terrys who works with tax sale properties here, but those have been slow to be written off. They accrue the 10% penalty when they have that past due, even though they don't technically owe it, and that needs to be addressed. Also, with the mailings from Star Bank, when they have a past due, they're getting multiple mailings. Whereas I know we're doing our best to save the trees on the levee and all that, but we're sending out twice as much paperwork as we need to.
And tell me again, what exactly were you referring to what notice would that be from?
Okay, say somebody fell into arrears in the past.
Yeah.
Okay. And they have, signed agreements. They're making payments on those amounts, okay, lost my train of thought there, Bill. The 10%, oh, I'm sorry, they've fallen behind the past. They're trying to pay their bills. They are getting two separate mailings. One, which says their current bill and their past due balance, and then another that is basically a delinquency notice. Okay. Well, it seems like the past due balance amount on the one bill serves as delinquency notice. And most of these people, as I say, are on contract and they're paying. Okay. And I think part of the, I don't dispute that $1 million figure by much, right. But some of that are tax sale properties that need to be written off, bankruptcies. If you notice in my figures here, SOS has contracted nearly $400,000 of that to be paid off over the next 2 years. So we're making some headway on that, and I do think we need to address the penalty problem with these past due amounts, and we need to address the double mailing for the people who are getting that. That's costing more money for the district and taxpayers.
Well, absolutely. We don't want to waste money.
That's really all I have to say today.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for the report.
Brought about 60 examples of those duplicate bills.
Okay. Well, thank you. No answer at this point in time, except we certainly want to, and if you have a couple examples, when we meet, I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name's Phil Mark, and I'm property owner here around the Ball State area. And what I would just like to make mention, I think that when you did make the switch to the monthly billing, that made things much better, particularly for your receivables and your collection efforts and everything.
Yes.
And I know it made it much easier for us because, like, when leases in everything, you may just have one little utility bill coming in, which is normally sewage, because it used to be quarterly.
Right.
But now we can easily just make a deduction from the security deposit and, not return it to the tenant.
Right. That's exactly.
So I kind of think the monthly billing that you did is going to be a correction or a big help for your problem of preventing this $1 million situation you got. And I would think as quickly as you issued this last notification about August 1 that it could be rescinded just as quickly and to cancel that whole issue.
Okay.
And just see if this doesn't work the other way just as well, because as soon as we get the notification that they're behind, but normally it's been a quarter behind.
Oh, and it was actually 2 quarters by the time we actually get those out. I mean, I was looking at that, and the time we took real action was like almost seven months. People were gone, and
they're gone.
Yeah, so I think that decision was very obvious to do, and I do think that's going to help it.
I just think the monthly billing is a big thing, and then if we get that, it's much easier to handle with your tenants.
Good. Glad to hear that part of it.
So I'd say rescind that order and
okay.
Cancel it.
Well, thank you everybody who came up to speak, because everybody's been very polite, and I'm sorry, ma'am, I thought I didn't see anybody else. Please come forward.
Hi, my name is Barbara Morgan, and we've had rentals for almost 20 years, and this going to bring this to the homeowner is just not right, because this is relieving the tenant of their responsibility. And sometimes it's hard enough to get them to pay their rent, much less if you now, they'll feel no obligation to pay that sewage. They'll just leave it up to us. They'll say, well, hey, you received the bill, and then you're just going to have one big problem after the other. So if you could discuss it and perhaps not do this, it would be greatly appreciated by everyone, because it just creates more and more problems. Because by the time you pay your taxes and your insurance and you keep up what they tear down with regularity, and now they're going to say, well, you know, this is in your name, not ours. We don't have to pay it, even though they're using it. So the more that you, in my estimation, the more that you relieve them of their responsibility, the less responsible people become in the long run. It's like your children, you know, you have to make them responsible. And now you're going to make us responsible. And so if you could give that some thought and perhaps rescind this before August, it would be greatly appreciated by all of us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ma'am. Well, again, as I said, everybody, I mean, this is a subject that is affecting a lot of people, and again, from the board, I wanted to tell everybody we appreciate how everybody has come forth and presented their side, their arguments, their points in a very professional way. So, Muncie, Delaware County, you can be proud of yourself on how you all conducted your meeting today. So, thank you. Is there anything else from the board? With that said, we'll close the meeting at this point in time, and we'll meet at the same place somewhere 2 weeks from today, I guess, 2 Thursdays from today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.